You're on.
This is especially for Nancy because she asked, how are we going to wash our dishes when we're on a trip? Well, this is what happens, Nancy. Now, if you cook over a fire where there's black on the bottom of the pot, first thing you do is you scrub it around in the pan really good. It scours well, and it'll clean that stuff off the bottom of your pan. Then you just take your pan, get some sand in there, roll it around pretty good, rinse. You keep doing that until you've got it done. Oh darn, I meant to bring my sponge with me. No problem though. We just go up on the beach, look around. There's all these little sponges laying around. I can come use one of these, scrub around. This had beans in it before. Look how clean that is. And then when you're done, you just go out a little bit further and rinse good and you're done.
Well, I found a coconut. These suckers are hard to open. When I was about 19, I found one in Hawaii, and the only way I could get into it was I kept smashing it with big rocks till I cracked it open. But our outfitter, I asked him, if we find a coconut, how do you open it? And he said, take your knife, ideally a locking blade knife, cut in like this. I've already started, but once you get get a piece pried up, you can peel it. Like that. That's what I've been doing to get this far. We're getting close now. We're trying our aerial photography experiment here. We got our new little GoPro camera on its handy dandy mount that I made with a piece of wire, and we sent it up on the kite to take pictures of it. You can set it where it'll take a picture every 60 seconds, so we did that. We'll have to see how they come out.
On the way back, we stopped at Little Farmer Key again, hoping to get a few more food items. Unfortunately, the store was closed, so we couldn't get any food, but we did restock on water. And at the marina, Dino, who was there, talked me into letting him make me a fresh conch salad, sushi. I was a little wary on that, but it turned out pretty good. I actually liked it.
Sunday, day 8 for us, was our first day paddling back towards the main island against the wind, and we were exhausted when we got there. The boat was heavy, loaded with all the water we picked up at Little Farmers. We pulled the boat clear up out of the water, though, and we were anxious to try and get some fish. So we went out snorkeling, and I had speared one fish and put it on a stringer, sent Lynn back to camp with it, and I was going to try and get a couple more.
Well, I had to paddle back around a point. I was snorkeling. I looked up kind of out of the water to see was I on track for getting back to where our tent was. Something really didn't look right with that picture, so I pulled my head back up out of the water and I looked again and I thought, oh my gosh, the boat is gone. I immediately turned around, snorkeled as fast as I could back to Bob. I was waving my arms frantically and yelling, Bob, Bob!
So I'm still trying to spear fish, and I look up once and I see Lynn in the distance, and she's signaling like she wants me to come there, and I think she must have found another big fish for me to spear. So I go paddling over there really fast, and I stick my head up once, and I can hear her voice now, and she says the boat is gone. And I thought, no, the boat can't be gone. Anyhow, I paddle back towards the camp, and sure enough, the boat is not there. So I try to get up on shore on that sharp rock so I can stand up and look to see where the boat is. I climb up, I can't see the boat anywhere, and I can see a long way.
And while he's doing that, I swam on further to the next point, looking around it, which was the way that was going to be heading out with the low tide to see, just in case was it caught up anywhere.
So I paddle hard back to shore, back to camp, and I immediately noticed that the whole beach has been washed over, and even the footprints around our tent that we had just set up are washed away on the seaward side for about 2 feet, like a big wave had come up and washed underneath the tent.
So what had happened during this time was that a humongo power yacht, the biggest one we had seen on the whole trip, had come past. We noticed it when it came past when we were snorkeling because it almost knocked us against the rock. But the waves off the back of that boat were so big it had washed up the shore higher than the high tide line, taken our boat away and gotten all underneath the tent wet.
Well, the cell phone the outfitter had given us for emergencies was securely fastened into the kayak cockpit and was gone with the kayak. We had a UHF little walkie-talkie that was a Marine band that we'd bought 10 years before. We'd never actually used. In fact, the battery had failed on it, but I had a way of rigging it up to 5 AA batteries. So I got that rigged up, and I broadcast on there that we had an emergency on Big Galley at K. Could anybody hear me? And it took a couple times, but then somebody came back and told me to go to channel 12, and I did, and explained the situation to them. I even told them I think that this big power yacht that went by had caused a wave that washed our kayak away, and we can't see it. And they said, just stay put. They're going to put a tender in the water. They're going to come meet us. I had no idea at that time that it was the power yacht that had gone by that had answered my call, and the captain of it was on his way to our island. Okay, the captain got there in his inflatable power tender that was about as big as our 14-foot inflatable, and said, do we want to go look for the kayak? And so I jumped in the boat, and he took me off downwind, and we cruised 2 miles downwind. The wind was blowing away from our beach and our island, and we couldn't see it anywhere. And before we had went 2 miles down, I told him, let's go. There was a cut around the corner of our island that would go out to the deep ocean. We knew the tide was going out. That's why we thought our boat was safe. But if the boat was low in the water and the current caught it, it might try to go out to sea, and we checked that first. We couldn't find anything over towards the cut. It was getting close to sunset by now, or it was past sunset. It was getting dark, and we drove around for a long time. He took me 2 miles offshore. We circled around. We couldn't find the kayak anywhere. I asked him, is there any way I could make a phone call to the outfitter, because we were going to have to call to have them pick us up or something. And he said, sure, and he took me back to the power yacht. I'd never seen anything like this. We go up into the bridge, which looked like the bridge of the Starship Enterprise. It had a fancier chair than the Starship Enterprise, a big padded chair. It had 3 big widescreen monitors, one that showed GPS position on the yacht and where it was, and one that showed a bunch of data I couldn't read, and I think another one was turned off. And anyhow, they had satellite connection that would track the satellites, and he got on the internet, got the phone number, and I got to call the outfitter, who, when I said the kayak had washed away and disappeared and I couldn't find it, said, are you kidding me? I sure wished I was, but I was finally able to arrange with Dallas, our outfitter, that someone would come pick us up in 2 days, because he was racing in the sail wing race the next day. So it came time for Captain Chris to take me back to shore. He asked me, would we like a bottle of wine? I told him my wife would love a bottle of wine. He took me and the bottle of wine back to shore. Lynn had built a really nice campfire we could see from like a mile offshore. We all sat around the fire and had a little wine, and we found Chris a really interesting person to talk to. He seemed like he'd rather be out exploring the islands and enjoying nature in a kayak than in the big power yacht, but that was his job. He was trying to make some money, and he had a family back in Nassau he was going back to soon. Okay, I came up on top of our island after we got stranded, and they brought us some water and orange juice, and I realized that boat was 1.5 miles away, and I thought maybe if I climbed up here I could see it, and sure enough, I'm going to try and zoom in. Okay, I made a tripod out of 2 paddles, and lets me hold it steady enough I can see the Lady Blue. He told me it was 1.5 miles off. over the, if I stand on top of our island and looking over one part of it.
As promised, the next day, Chris, our captain, came back and brought us not only water, about 3 gallons of it, but also some fresh fruit. It was even organic. It was really great, and we really appreciated him saving the day for us. So after Chris left, we spent our day doing a little bit of snorkeling, reading books, and when it got to the really hot part of the day, we strung up a tarp and we're hanging out underneath that. The radiant heat and sunshine were really hot that day.
We don't believe this, but here it is about 10, 11 o'clock and somebody's dragging our kayak back, which we thought was gone forever.
Our guardian angels are with us this trip. We're here on Little Galliant Cay, day 10. This was the cay of our little faux pas. Our boat went out to sea. We did get it recovered. When the guy brought it back, it was filled with sand and seaweed and sponges everywhere. We lost most of our waters. We still had a 5-gallon water bag. But we had to scoop out all the sand and the seaweed by hand and then just pour water through until we could get all the sand out. It was stuck under the seats and everything. Bob's going to show you repairs that we had to do on the back of the boat with the rudder because the rudder was bent all the way down and it was unusable. On.
Okay, I'm fairly proud of this because the biggest damage, the one that would keep us from going, was to the rudder assembly. This part that would allow us to what would that be? Right rudder was bent straight down, so that when you pulled on it, it wouldn't pull at all. And it looked pretty, there's a lot of stress lines in the metal. I was pretty sure if we bent that up, it would just snap off. So, we had to bend it in a new place instead of the old place, and it was hard to keep. We took these pliers and put them on here, and we lashed this to make it really tight. And we put a stick in here so that we could hold this, so that as I pulled up on this, she was torquing this down. We were able to bend it in a new place, only about 1/4, 3/8 of an inch down. That kept the strength in it. Then we had to reattach a cable. And these straps were broken. Some of them I was able to partly repair. In other places I lashed it so that the plastic buckles that were broken. Hopefully we'll make it. We lost one of our rubber cockpit covers. I think we can put a trash bag over that and a bungee and still make it work. I think we'll make it.
We're at the end of letter K. About to make our next big crossing. There'll be a lot of big waves going that way. And you can see on the top of that there's sort of a stone building castle. That's an old German castle that nobody lives in anymore. We'll be maybe stopping and walking into it later today. We're in a cavern that's etched into the side of the rock. And if you look up, there's 2 skylights through here. Makes a nice amphitheater. Dead cactus, do that one. We just landed and we're on our way up to the old castle. And I just stopped about a foot in front of that thing. I'm glad I saw it before my face hit it.
Nice, big, pretty sucker, yep. I was following her and I noticed something on her hat.
Let's get this.
Where are we going? Where are we going? There's lizards all over the place. Lizards and spiders, lizards and spiders. There's one with a red tail. There's a bigger one up ahead. Finally made it up to the castle after getting past about 2 dozen spiders, including that big one right there if you can see him. The story behind this place is that some German guy built it. He was a Nazi sympathizer And he was sympathetic to the U-boats and wanted to set up a place for U-boats in the Bahamas.